Gaming geek Suho Kim hates school, and the dislike is mutual. Every day he faces relentless bullying from his classmates, leading him to wish his life was more like the RPG quest games he plays. Suho's wish is granted when a quest prompt pops up in real life with an easy quest and an enticing reward. With nothing to lose, he takes the chance, and one quest soon leads to another. As the stakes get higher and the rewards get bigger, Suho soon finds he's gone from being an ostracized nobody to the top of the school. Just how far will Suho take his quests, and how far will he fall if he refuses to participate? The scene opens with a person saying how boring webtoons these days are. Another boy says that some loser always gets strong in these stories. Another boy says that it's all about school violence these days, and who does it now? The fatty in the middle says that all authors are old these days. They consider it lame how they think that bullies are everywhere these days. They ask Suho if he's keeping a watch. Suho turns back and says he is. Deep down he wonders how this is different from bullying. The fatty grabs Suho and says they should end school violence. They leave Suho on the ground and think that the violence isn't ending. Suho, while lying on the ground, thinks that no one shows up to do anything about bullying. He wonders when all of this started and why he has to live like this. These days webtoons are all about getting quests, receiving rewards, and growing stronger like characters in video games. He wishes he could do that in real life too. He calls out the quest window to pop up, but nothing happens. He starts saying it over and over again, hoping that it will come out by some miracle. However, it never showed up and he feels dejected. He thinks that this isn't a web novel, so there's no way that something like that would appear out of nowhere. Suddenly a system window pops up, informing him that it's active. Suho becomes more amazed after seeing it. The system asks if he would like to begin the quest. Suho explains that in this web novel, just like any other, there are two types of people. First are the popular kids, and the second are the loners. If one is outgoing and active, then they automatically become popular. However, if one is shy and introverted, they become a loner. These words could be best replaced with the terms bullies for popular kids and loner for losers. Our boy thinks that it would be best to be called a loner rather than a loser. However, today is a bit different. A quest window from the heavens has landed in his arms. At first he wasn't sure if he should take the quest or not. He kept turning it on and off during the whole class, pondering his decision. No matter how much he thought, he still couldn't believe it was real. He wonders what type of quest he'll get, and whether he should press the yes button. Despite the doubts, he decides to press the button. Once he presses the button, the system window disappears, and he presses onto a girl's belly. Suho thinks that the quest window is so awesome that he got to do this for the first time. The girl, Che, says that what he's doing is sexual harassment. Suho tries explaining that there is a quest window. However, Che slaps him, calling him a pervert. She then tells Suho to bring her a sandwich from the canteen. Suho asks why should he go for her, and she asks if he's stupid. Can he look at her legs? It was due to these legs that she has 200,000 followers on Instagram. If she trips and falls on the way to the canteen, would he take responsibility for her injuries? Suho thinks that there's no point in arguing and says he'll bring it right away. He then asks for the money to bring it. However, Chai asks if he's serious. She says that he's supposed to give a treat to her. Suho wonders if this is the type of life he's supposed to have. He feels scared to speak out against injustices like this. Suddenly, the fatty slams Suho's face and says, "This is the end of school violence." The fatty asks Suho if he's all right, and Suho asks if he's crazy. He says he should have warned him before he was doing it. The fatty pats Suho's head and says that he was just joking. Suho clutches his fist in anger and thinks that he'll expose all these bullies. The fatty looks at him seriously and asks if he can say that again. Suho feels terrified and apologizes to them. The scene shifts to Suho's house. Suho shouts at his mom, asking if he can drop out of school. He isn't learning anything and would rather become a YouTuber. His mom asks if he's joking about it. Suho insists that school is a waste of time and he'll end up with just some mediocre white-collar job. His mom replies that she has a knife in her hand. If he doesn't quiet down, she might do something that she would regret. Suho's sister makes fun of him, asking if he is serious about YouTube. Does he think that this Manhwa is like a viral hit that he would gain popularity by beating bullies? Suho goes back into his room, saying no one understands him. His sister tells him not to go around slamming doors in the house. Once inside his room, Suho slumps on his bed and wonders why he's like this. He feels scared to even stand up for himself at school. He says quest window and the system pops up. It asks if he would like to begin the quest. He presses the button again and hopes that it will work properly this time. If this is true, then he can test it out to his heart's content. The system says that after completing a quest, he'll receive a card. Suho wonders what kind of quest it'll start. The system says that they will generate a tutorial quest for him. The first quest is to apologize to his mom, and the reward will be 1 gold card. Suho jolts up in anger, asking what this lame quest is. Nonetheless, he considers doing it since it has a gold card reward. He tries tinkering with the system, hoping that he can sell the gold card once he gets his hands on it. He decides to do it and calls out to his mom. He shouts that he's sorry for yelling at him earlier. He didn't mean to say all that, but got worked up in the heat of the moment. He apologizes once again. His sister says that he has finally lost his mind. They need to take him to a doctor. The system window pops up, congratulating Suho on completing the quest. Suho gets happy on seeing he would get a gold card. He goes back into his room and wonders if he could get $10 after selling the card. He wonders if he has to claim the card or something. He says, "Claim card," and the system grants it. His room turns into a disco light as the system makes the card. The gold card shows up, showing that it's a one-time use card which would allow him to grow 1.2 inches taller. The system asks if he would like to use the card. Suho says use card, and the system grants him his wish. Suddenly, Suho comes out of his room again and shouts out for his mom. Suho, while grabbing his sister, says that he got 1.2 inches taller. Dayeon tells her mom that she needs to call the police before he goes crazy. He thinks he measured his height yesterday and he was 5'5", but now he's over 5'6". He thinks that this system is amazing. His mom suddenly says sorry to him as well, and this surprises Suho. She tells him to have dinner. He thinks that he was always apologizing at school, but this time he apologized to his mom. Suho goes to school in a happy mood. The students wonder why he has such a weird look on his face, but our boy just stays lost in his daydreams. He thinks that the air feels different once he has gotten taller. Some classmates notice that Suho has gotten a bit taller, while the other girl says that he must be lifting his shoes. The first girl insists that it's not the case. Suho feels blushed by the remarks and thinks that this is all thanks to the quest window. He wonders why the system isn't popping up today. He wants to complete another quest and get a card. The system pops up and says it will generate a quest. On seeing it, Suho becomes happy. The system says that he'll get 1 gold and 1 silver card as the reward. He feels that the system is quite generous, especially when the quests are so easy. Suddenly, Suho bumps into Che while focusing on the system. The system then gives him a quest to kiss Che, and Che asks, if doesn't he have eyes? Suho can't believe that the second quest is to kiss her. Che asks why he's staring at her like that. Does he have a death wish? Che raises her hand and thinks about beating his ass. Suho thinks that there would be no way that he would be able to kiss her. Che restrains herself from beating him and thinks that the guys are intentionally getting hit by her these days. She leaves and says that she doesn't hit creeps like him. Suho thinks that the quest is impossible and tries to abandon it. He thinks he'll give up on this and get a new one. Suddenly, the system pops up with a warning. It declares that if he abandons a quest, then all the reward will be forfeited and the window will never appear again. It asks if he still wants to abandon the quest. Suho starts cussing at the system, and the students around him wonder if he has gone mad. The girls who were praising Suho for his height earlier wonder what's wrong with him. The system finalizes the quest and also adds a deadline before the end of the school. Left with no other option, Suho thinks that he can't give up now. He gets determined and thinks he'll find a way out somehow. Later, Suho feels that the quest is impossible. He can't find any way to do it. They are not even dating, so how could he kiss her? Even if he tries asking her out, he will just get slapped to death. He thinks about forcing a kiss, but the consequences would be severe. Someone asks Suho if he wants a kiss, and Suho turns in excitement. A boy says that he won't mind much if he wants to kiss him. Suho says that he scared him, and asks what happened to his face. He replies that he got beat up by bullies. Suho says that he looks one hell of a fighter, but why does he keep getting beat up all the time? Kuja replies that he thought he was strong too. He asks Suho why he was muttering about a kiss, and that too right beside him. It looks very suspicious. Suho asks if he is talking about that. He asks Kuja what he'll do if he's tasked with kissing a girl. Kuja replies that he would ask the girl nicely, and then she might let him kiss her. However, Suho thinks that could never happen even in the dream. He suggests hosting a free kiss campaign, but Suho says that it won't work, especially with guys like them. Kuja says that he could offer her money in exchange for a kiss. Suho says that it's a good idea and calls Kuja a genius. Since kissing is all about touching lips, and everybody likes money, so they can't refuse it. He asks Kuja how much cash he has and if he could lend him some. Kuja says that he has him covered and pulls out his wallet. However, they feel dejected when Kuja doesn't have enough money. They also feel horrible about paying money for a kiss. Kuja says that he has to be alone with her as well. Guys like them usually don't get such opportunities. Suho thinks that Kuja is right. There won't be a way he could be alone with Che. Suddenly, an idea flashes in Suho's mind and he thinks it could be possible. During the gym class, everyone goes outside to play. However, Che makes an excuse that she's sick so she can skip it. Che wakes up from his sleep and wonders what time it is. She asks Suho why he isn't in the gym class. Suho replies that he wasn't feeling well. He thinks that now he's alone with her and wonders how he should do it. She asks if he was staring at her while she was sleeping. She'll now tell everyone about his pervert action. Suho stands up and says he wasn't doing it. Che replies that she was just joking and call him a lame ass. She tells him to get her a carton of strawberry milk. However, our boy replies that he already got it. He puts it on her desk and says it's here. She asks when he bought this and calls him a good little minion. Suho wonders what he should do next. He knows that Che has zero feelings for him. He can't waste any more time here and must do something. He snatches the milk from her hand, and she asks what's wrong with him. Suho starts slurping the drink, and she asks what has gotten into him. After drinking the milk, he slams it back onto the table. He then asks if he has kissed anyone. Che asks if he's serious here. If he doesn't cut his crap, then the only thing that he'll be kissing would be the floor of a jail cell. Suho backs down and says it was just a joke. He was just curious to know. Suddenly, a boy comes in with his phone and calls out to Suho. The bullies from earlier ask if they want them to kiss him. They start mocking him, calling him a fool. They put their arm around him and say that they got the whole scene recorded. They say that Suho has a crush on Chai. Suho asks why did he record it, and he must delete it immediately. He keeps telling them to delete it, and the fatty lands a punch on Suho's face, calling him an annoying little rat. He tells Suho if what he said was a joke, then he could consider this a joke as well. He slaps Suho and says that they are friends. The fatty starts slapping him over and over again, saying they are friends. He raises his hand and tells Suho to answer him. At that moment, Che stops him from going any further. She tells him to cut it out, suggesting that he must have gotten the message. She also tells them to delete the video. The fatty salutes her and says that her word is the law. He says he'll step out to smoke then. He leaves, saying that they never recorded him from the start. He tells Suho that they will have a proper chat next time. Che looks at Suho and tells him to go home early. If he stays at school any longer, then they'll beat him all day. Later in the room, Suho laments about the day. He thinks that he failed the quest. The deadline was before the school end, but he got beat up and came home early. He wonders why did he even try in the first place. He wonders what will happen at the school. His bullies are pissed off, and his glasses are broken. He couldn't tell his mom again that he had fallen down the stairs, and the glasses broke. He starts sobbing and thinks that he'll shrink back to 5'5". He feels glad that he enjoyed the extra height. Suddenly, the system pops up, saying that he completed the quest. At the school, Che picks up the milk and thinks she almost forgot about it. She wonders what that moron was going on about a kiss. She has never done something like that before. She puts the straw in and quickly realizes that Suho drank from this straw earlier. At the same time, Suho's room turns into a disco light, and the system announces that he'll get a reward. Suho stands puzzled and wonders how he completed the quest. Nonetheless, he claims the reward. The system grants him the card, and he thinks the first gold card made him taller. He wonders what these next cards will do. The new gold card says that it will restore his 20/20 vision. The system asks if he would like to use the card, and Suho uses it. The system grants him the I have seen the light card. After receiving the card, his once blurry-looking hands look crystal clear. He can't stop laughing, feeling delighted that he finally got rid of them. He thinks that these quests are best. The system pops up again and reminds him of the remaining card. He thinks that this one is a silver card and wonders what it will do. He claims the silver card and wonders how the reward could be this good. Suddenly, Suho bursts out of his room and calls out to his mom. His sister tells him to shut up and have dinner. He asks where mom is and Dayun replies that she'll work late tonight. He thanks her for making him dinner as well. She tells him to stop talking as his breath stinks. She then asks what happened to his face. Did he get beaten up again? Suho replies that he was just fooling around with his friends. He says that her older brother doesn't go around getting beaten up. She tells him to stop lording over her just because he's 1 year older. She then asks what happened to his glasses, and he replies that his vision improved. She asks if he's joking, but Suho replies that there are forces at work that she can't comprehend. She sighs and tells him not to talk to her if he meets her at the school. He asks the reason and she replies that it's simple. He keeps getting beaten by bullies and is a laughingstock at school. The next day at school, the fatty punches Suho. He says that it's surprising how he showed up today. The lackeys chime in, saying that he thinks of himself too highly. The fatty asks if that's the case, then he can't let things go easily. The other classmate looks at the bullying in utter disgust, but can't do anything. The fatty tells Suho to meet him at the back of the school building at lunchtime. He shouldn't eat anything beforehand, otherwise he'll just vomit it out. After being beaten up, Suho takes back his seat. Kuja replies that he's sorry, and Suho asks why he's apologizing. He tells Kuja not to mind him. If he gets involved, then he will be beaten up as well. He laments about why he asked Che if she ever kissed anyone before. Kuja tries to cheer him up by asking if he wants to kiss him. However, Suho declines his request. He says he'll take a nap as he feels pathetic right now. At lunchtime, Suho comes to the rooftop. The fatty tells him to scream like he did yesterday, but Suho apologizes. He says he shouldn't have done that in the first place. The fatty slaps Suho and says he couldn't hear him. He then flicks his cigarette and it falls beside Suho. He tells him to pick it up. He asks Suho why isn't he picking it up, and if he wants some more doses of friendship. Suho obliges and crawls on the ground. He was about to pick up the cigarette when his sister walked by. She asks what he's doing on the ground. When she doesn't get a reply, she asks again what he's doing. The fatty asks who this girl is, and Suho replies that she's her little sister. The fatty interest peaks after looking at her. He tells her that it's all a misunderstanding. He was smoking and Suho picked up the cigarette that he tossed. He didn't want a teacher to catch him smoking. He asks Suho if that is right and he agrees. She asks if that's the case and they agree. The fatty leaves with Suho, saying it's all a misunderstanding. The fatty says that it was a close one and he should feel great that he covered for him. The fatty smirks and says that his sister must be quite popular. He looks at Suho's sister and says that they should be best friends from now on. The fatty takes Suho to the bathroom along with him. He says that he's a bit hurt that he didn't tell him he had a sister. Suho replies that they aren't very close to each other. She doesn't want him to talk to her at school either. The fatty asks if he could introduce him to her then. He wipes his hands on Suho's shirt and makes himself clear again. Suho says that she sucks and has crappy grades like him. The fatty says that they are best friends. So couldn't he introduce her? He says that she looks like a good lay. Suho wonders what that fatty just said. Suddenly, someone shouts out the fatty's name. Kuja comes out from the washroom with his pants off and says that he's taking that too far. The fatty punches him and says that he almost scared him. He tells Kuja not to scare him with that ugly mug of his. He starts kicking him and says he should look like a high school student. Suddenly, Suho curses at fatty. The fatty turns around and asks what did he call him again. Suho repeats his words and this greatly annoys him. He approaches Suho, asking if he's joking. He goes for a punch, but Suho punches him in the face first. This is when Suho remembered when he received that silver card. He thought that there would be no way he could use a skill like that. The silver card was of a boxing jab. His current proficiency in that skill is F rank. At present, the system recognizes that Suho threw a jab. Suho thinks that he had enough and he'll change. The system then assigns him a new quest. The task is to fight and defeat the fatty. The reward will be 1 silver and 1 bronze card. Suho asks fatty if he was talking about a good lay earlier. Now, he'll lay a turn of bricks onto him. The fatty chuckles and asks what he said right now. He says that it was dramatic. He asks if he watched some fight tutorial on YouTube last night. Suho throws another jab before the fatty can say anything else. Fatty gets a bit dizzy and wonders how this loser is doing this. He believes that Suho must have secretly taken boxing lessons or something. The fatty charges at Suho, asking if he took boxing so he could fight him. However, fatty gets punched again. Suho then unleashes a fury of jabs onto the fatty's face and the system records every strike. He keeps doing it unless the fatty is knocked out, not giving him a single chance to strike. Kuja can't believe that Suho is dominating him. The system soon registers that the fatty is defeated. Suho, after knocking him, sits on top of him. The system informs him that his jab skill has improved. Kuja asks if he killed him, but Suho says that he's just unconscious. Kuja grabs his hand and says, "This is the time to run." He takes Suho to the storage area. They breathe a sigh of relief, and Kuja says that this is only beginning. He believes that the entire school must be in an uproar now. The fatty barges inside Suho's class and asks where he is. Suho himself thinks if he could keep attending school, they will now beat him up at every break. Kuja asks Suho when he learned boxing, and Suho replies he just watched some YouTube videos. He also thinks that there was a notification he hasn't seen before. He sees that his boxing jab skill is close to reaching 100 and wonders what will happen next. He should now see what rewards he got. Kuja asks what kind of rewards is he talking about. Suho replies that he's just talking to himself. He thinks that other people aren't able to see the system window, and thinks about seeing the card he just got. The girls soon find out their hiding place and ask what they are doing there. Suho thinks that they are doomed. He guesses that Che must also be looking for him. Che asks what he has been up to. Everybody's looking for him right now. Suho feels relieved that she didn't come here on behalf of Fatty. Suho says that he ended up fighting that fatty. Che says that she'll pretend she never saw him here, and he could go home. However, before they can grab their bag, some people gang up on them. The boy asks if it was this kid who beat the fatty. He can't believe a weakling like him could do such a thing. They put their arm around Kuja and ask him if that's the truth. They punch him as he doesn't answer. Some students are standing nearby and the boy asks what they are looking at. They should get out of here unless they want a beating. Suho wonders what he should do now. He could let them hit him and leave quickly. He thinks that if that boy shows up who beat up all the seniors on the first day of school, then he would be pretty much a dead meat. Suho's worst nightmare, that boy, Hajun-gu, shows up. The bullies lurk around him, saying that Fatty got beat up in the bathroom and passed out. However, Hajun doesn't find it a bit entertaining. He then approaches Suho and asks if this is the boy that hit that fatty. He tells Suho to raise his head and he obliges. He points to the fatty and asks if he hit this guy. Suho says he did. He was the one who started it and insulted his family before. Hajun asks if that's all. Suho starts getting back and Hajun asks if he packs quite a punch. He tells Suho to hit him then. He heard he took boxing, so he wants to test his strength. However, Suho replies that he didn't take boxing. Hajun asks if he should hit him then. Suho wonders what he should do. He wants to hit him first. What will happen after he hits Hajun? Hajun says that he'll let him go if he lands a hit on him. That's a promise. Suho wonders what he should do. He remembers that he received rewards from his previous quest. He plans to use them now. He reveals the card and sees that the silver card will restore his stamina once per day. The bronze card will allow him to produce high-pitched sounds. He thinks that the bronze card isn't much useful here. However, the silver card seems good for the situation. He wonders if restoring stamina would change anything. Hajun asks why he isn't hitting him. Suho thinks that whether he hits him or not, he'll end up getting beaten up. Suho throws a jab, which Hajun evades easily. Suho can't believe that he dodged it. He starts throwing multiple jabs, which Hajun dodges again. Hajun punches him and knocks Suho out in one go. Suho later regains consciousness and wonders if he passed out. He thinks that Hajun dodged his punch and he passed out from a single punch of his. He believes he's screwed now. Suho slowly gets up and asks what he's doing. Is he waiting for him to hit him again? However, Hajun asks why he would hit him. He tells Suho to follow him and have a smoke. Suho unwillingly follows him and reaches a student smoking area. He wonders why he brought him here. Hajun extends a cigarette and asks what he's waiting for. He should take it. Suho says that he doesn't smoke and wonders if Hajun brought him here so that he can hit him more brutally. Hajun then asks him his name and apologizes for what he did earlier. He's better than he thought, and he ended up fighting him out of reflex. Hajun says that he has boxed for a while and feels that he too has potential for it. Suho wonders why he's complimenting him. Later, Suho heads back to his home. He lies in his bed and wonders what the problem with Hajun is. He heard he was a scary guy, but today he apologized and complimented him. He wonders if all those rumors are false. He springs out of his bed and thinks that Hajun might beat him tomorrow at the school. He asks the system for quests, but it shows that there are no quests available. He wonders who assigns these quests. Also, it's stated that these are tutorial quests and hopes that there are main quests as well. The cards he has received so far are gold, silver, and bronze. He believes there must be higher-level cards above gold. On top of that, the abilities granted by cards are strange too. All the cards he has received so far are related to fighting. The next day at school, both Kuja and Suho are dead serious. Kuja asks what happened yesterday and why Hajun is so quiet. Suho replies that things don't seem right to him as well. He thought Hajun would pummel him down as soon as he got to the school, but it didn't happen. The fatty calls out to Suho, and Suho wonders why he came here. He gets ready to fight, asking if he wants to take revenge for yesterday. The fatty says that Hajun wants to see him after school, and this surprises Suho. Once the fatty has done his job, he starts leaving. Suho thinks that he's doomed. Hajun must have said this because he wanted him to quake in fear all day from him. He asks Kuja what he should do. However, Kuja replies that there's no other way out of this. If he runs away, then things will get worse from the next day. The best option for him is to meet Hajun today. After heeding Kuja's advice, Suho reaches the pointed area. He enters the club, and Hajun welcomes him. He then tells him to sit, and Suho grows terrified. He sees the popular girls are here and wonders if Hajun will publicly shame him in front of everyone. He strategizes on how he should react in such a situation and get beaten as little as possible. Che asks what he's doing here, and Suho replies that Hajun called him here. Some students call him the new guy and tell him to sing. Suho wonders what he should do. If he doesn't sing, then he might ruin the mood. He thinks about giving it a try. He starts singing, and the system activates the high-pitched note card he received before. The girls can't believe that Suho is such a talented singer. Even Hajun is impressed by his singing. Suho nervously thanks them for providing this opportunity and hopes that he did well. Che says that she expected him to sing a song from an anime or something, but he surprised her as well. The girls talk about how he's so cute. On top of that, he has good high notes. A student asks if they can sing like Suho, and the other boy replies that it's easy. However, when he sings it, he fails poorly. They ask if he's Hajun's friend, but the other boy says that they have never seen Hajun bring a friend. They tell Suho to sing another song for them, and Suho wonders if won't they hit him. The boys ask if he could sing a dance song for them, and the other boy says that he's kind of a party animal. Suho, feeling delighted, asks Hajun's opinion. Hajun replies that he's fine, and they can have fun. Suho thinks that Hajun was a good guy all along. The next day, Suho goes excitedly to school. He thought he was doomed for sure, but he never believed that Hajun would call him a friend. He believes that life at school would be a breeze as Hajun is backing him up. Ever since he started those quests, everything has been going great. Hajun suddenly chimes in and asks Suho if he's getting in now. Suho asks if he's coming to school and if they could head in together. Suddenly, the system starts a main quest. Suho wonders if the tutorial quests are over and he'll be getting main quests from now on. The system notifies that he'll get a platinum card on completion of the quest. Suho thinks that this card must be higher level than the gold card, and believes that the difficulty might go up. Hajun asks what is he doing, and they should head in. The system gives him the mission to fight and defeat Hajun in 3 days. Suho wonders what kind of quest is this. Hajun is the top dog of the school, and how can he win against him in 3 days? The boxing jab card won't be effective on him. Hajun asks if he wants to say something. The system also notifies him that side quests will be now unlocked. With that, the user can earn more cards. Later that day in the canteen, Suho sits dazed. He thinks that he became friends with Hajun, thanks to these quests, and everything seemed normal. However, now he's being asked to fight him. He feels nauseous just by thinking about it. Kuja whispers about why Hajun is eating with them, and Suho replies that he likes hanging out with him. Hajun says that he has finished his food and will leave first. Suho wonders what he should do with Hajun, as he's being nice to him. Suddenly, Suho grabs Kuja's shirt and says it's easy. Kuja asks if he looks easy, and what is he planning to do with him. Suho, while humming to himself, thinks that he needs to simply give up on the quest. Since he has Hajun with him, so his school life would go with a breeze. If he picks a fight with Hajun and loses, then he would lose all rewards and Hajun too. He calls out to Hajun and says he's here. He thinks that there's no need to fight as they are best friends. As for Hajun, he's smacking the fatty against the wall. The fatty apologizes to Hajun for making a mistake. However, Hajun slams his head again onto the wall, asking what he just said. The fatty apologizes once again, and Suho wonders what's going on here. Che asks if he thought of Hajun as a good guy. He can now see what kind of guy he is. Does he know why he's beating that fatty's ass? Suho asks for it, and Che replies that he didn't pay enough. She explains that all the money that bullies collect from everyone's pocket goes to Hajun. He gets other people to do his dirty work and takes all the money for himself. Hajun has been nice to him lately, but he should realize what kind of guy he is. She leaves, and this makes Suho question Hajun more. Hajun turns around and asks Suho when he got here. Suho replies just now and proceeds to ask him a question. He asks why he's being so nice to him. Hajun puts his arm around him and says that he's good at boxing. Before he met him, he was surrounded by these weak idiots. Hajun asks why he asked that, and Suho replies that he was just curious. Deep down, Suho thinks Hajun only likes him because he's a good fighter. If he gives up this quest and loses the ability to throw jabs, then Hajun will discover that he's a poor fighter, and start treating him like dirt. Hajun shakes Suho, asking if something happened. However, Suho replies that it's nothing. He says that he feels like crying right now. But in reality, he's crying because he now has to fight Hajun. Later that night, Suho is practicing his jabs in a park. He thinks that he can't give up now. Otherwise, he would go back to how he used to be. He lays on the bench restless, and thinks about how he'll beat Hajun. The jab didn't work last time, and wonder what he'll do next. He remembers that he still has 2 cards, one is a healing bean, and the other one hit those high notes. He smiles as he believes he can't beat Hajun with this. Suddenly, some students come to the park and ask Suho if he's a high school student. Suho replies that he is, and the boys ask if he can lend them some money for the bus. Suho replies he doesn't have any, and the boy says he understands it. They gang around him and ask if he's a clueless bum. If he's telling him to hand over his money, then he should gladly do it. Suho insists that he doesn't have money right now. The boy raises his fist and says that they will beat it out of him then. However, Suho throws a jab, and the system registers it. After punching him with his eyes closed, he apologizes to the boy. Suho then understands the situation and asks if he's the type of guy who likes getting hit first. The system tells Suho that his jab skills have increased. He thinks that his skill hasn't gone up ever since he beat Fatty. He believes it increases only when he hits his opponent. The system congratulates him on leveling up. He gains an E-rank jab skill, and the aura around his arm feels different. Suho gets happy and thinks that he could get stronger if he keeps at it. The boy charges once again and says that he's being distracted here. However, Suho throws another jab at him. He feels that this E-rank jab is much different from before. He senses it to be stronger and faster. He starts throwing jabs at the boy again, believing he could stand a chance against Hajun. The boy asks what they are doing while watching him get beat up. Other boys smirk and think about tormenting that bastard. The system then pops up, registering a side quest. The quest is to fight and defeat the thugs. The reward will be 1 silver card. He sees the hidden condition written on it and wonders what it is. The system explains that he can't forfeit side quests. All the boy charges at Suho and he thinks it's a bit overwhelming. He says he won't give up and tells them to bring it on. The system starts the side quest, and Suho starts talking in high-pitched notes by using the bronze card he received earlier. The first boy charges at him, and Suho wonders how he'll take all 5 of them. He throws a jab and thinks this is all he can do now. The boy who was being cocky gets knocked out in 1 punch. His friend asks if he's all right, and Suho wonders what happened to them. They try to wake him up by slapping and giggling him, but he doesn't open his eyes. The system pops up saying that he has defeated one of the 5 thugs. The knocked out boy's friend says that he's just unconscious by getting punched in the chin. Another boy points at Suho and tells others to get that bastard. The boys start pulling out their jackets and get serious. They tell Suho that he's dead meat now. All four charge at him, saying they will avenge his fallen comrade. Suho replies that he isn't dead, so it's nothing serious. He thinks that he would be done if he gets surrounded. He needs to find a way to fight them, like a place where he can take them individually. The boys finally corner him and ask if he has finally lost it. Suho pants heavily against a narrow alley, and the boys ask if hiding there will solve anything. Suho thinks that he can fight these idiots one-on-one here, but he's out of breath from all the running. Suho pulls out the healing bean and consumes it. The system notifies him that his stamina is restored and a boy charges forward at the same time. Suho throws a jab at the rushing bully. He then dashes forward and deals multiple strikes on him. Other boys ask what's wrong with him. They thought he was exhausted. Suho feels that his body has learned to throw jabs now. He defeats another bully and thinks that he stands a chance against Hajun. The boys say he got another of them. Both had high hopes and dreams. Suho uses his high-note pitch and says that their friend isn't dead. He defeats another thug by striking at its chin. He then finally defeats all the thugs by jabbing at their chin. Suho breathes a sigh of relief and the system notifies him that he completed the side quest. The system also tells him that he completed the hidden condition as well. The condition was to win without receiving a single blow from the enemy. The night turns into a disco light as the system congratulates him. As for completing the hidden condition, he'll now get a gold card. Suho thinks that he ran away because he didn't want to be swarmed by them. He claims the reward and feels super lucky today. He reads the card eagerly and wonders what it means. Later, Suho is sitting in his classroom and thinks that he only has 8 hours left to defeat Hajun. He has 4 cards after adding up the previous gold card he received. He wonders if he can win against Hajun with just these cards. He believes he has to win no matter what. If he doesn't win, then his life will go back to what it used to be. Kuja asks what he's staring at and if he wants a kiss. Suho calls him a bastard, and Kuja asks if something is troubling him. Suho replies that he was thinking about Hajun. Nothing much. He also feels that he needs to protect Kuja as he always gets beaten up while helping him. He thinks that Kuja is a great friend, and he must thank him for what he has done for him. Suho smiles and thanks Kuja for everything he did. Kuja adjusts his glasses and asks what he's talking about. Suddenly, Hajun enters Suho's classroom and asks what they are up to. He says that they should go to the snack shop. Suho gets up and says, sure. He also thinks about how he'll fight him as he feels scared. At the same time, a couple enters the classroom while talking with each other. The boy's ice cream hits Hajun's shirt. He apologizes to the person and wonders who he is. Hajun looks back and the boy freaks out on seeing him here. Hajun starts slamming his head and loud noises are heard in the whole room. Everyone looks shocked by his actions. While beating the boy, Hajun suddenly remembers something important. He says that they were going to a snack shop. Suho steps in and curses at Hajun. He thinks that a bastard like Hajun deserves a beating. Suho repeats his words to Hajun, and Hajun asks if he's saying that to him. Suho says that he's right, and tells Hajun that he's the biggest shit in the world. He tells him to open his mouth as he'll shove down some of his new moves inside his stomach. Hajun raises his hand, and Suho believes that he'll hit him now. However, Hajun pats Suho, saying that he's a loyal guy. He asks if he got angry because he hit someone from his class. They shouldn't fight as they are friends and chill out now. Suho becomes hopeless as he misses a golden opportunity. Hajun drags Suho along with him, saying they will eat together at the cafeteria. Later, some girls gossip that 2 students almost got into a fight. The girl says that someone tried to provoke Hajun. The other girl asks if she's serious and who would do that. They point to Suho in front and say that it was him. Suho stays gloomy as he didn't expect Hajun to apologize. He wonders what he should do now. Hajun thinks of him as a good friend. Also, there isn't much time left to complete the quest either. At this rate, everything might be over before he even begins. Kuja asks Suho if something is bothering him. Suho replies that Hajun is bothering him. Kuja asks if he's bullying him, and Suho replies that he feels like he'll get bullied soon. Suddenly, Chai approaches Suho and says that the rumors going around in the school are true. She asks why he tried to pick a fight with Hajun and what he was planning earlier. Suho simply replies that he doesn't know. She asks if he got pissed off after seeing him beat another kid. But Suho replies, that's not the case. Suho then asks Che why she hangs out with people like Hajun. She helped him when that fatty was beating him up, and also told him some stuff about Hajun. He asks if she's doing all of this to help him out. Even though she hangs out with them, he has never seen her bully someone. He tells Chai that she seems like a nice person. Chai replies that hanging out with them makes her life easier. She asks if he was expecting a different answer. Suho turns his head away and almost says that he's like her. However, Che stops Suho from saying further and says that he crossed a line. He shouldn't act friendly because she talked to him a couple of times. Suho apologizes and says that he thought they were friends or something. Suddenly, a boy calls out to Suho, saying they have a big problem. He tells him not to sit around, and Suho asks what the matter is. Once he hears what the boy says, he becomes shocked. The scene shifts to the storage area. Some bullies ask the boy if he's serious and make fun of him. Kuja tells them to bring Hajun over here. The bully pats Kuja's face and asks if he thinks that Hajun will come running for him. The other bullies wonder if he's Suho's little friend. They gossip if he thinks that he's friends with Hajun because Suho became a friend of Hajun. The bully charges at Kuja with a fist and says he doesn't look like a student at all. Hajun shows up and tells the bullies to get out of his way. He approaches Kuja and asks if he is looking for him. Kuja clutches his fists as Hajun asks what he wants. Kuja, with determination, tells Hajun to stop harassing Suho. He repeats himself and says that he's making Suho tag along just because he's strong. He considers it the same thing as bullying. Suddenly, Hajun smacks Kuja with force. The other bullies remain astonished at the scene. Hajun bends down and says that he and Suho are friends. He grabs Kuja's face and says he doesn't like people like him. He starts boxing at Kuja's face, saying he doesn't look like a real person. He suggests Kuja to stick with his level of people and not meddle with others. If he thinks that he's harassing Suho, then he's the one who's doing it. He tells Kuja to stop hanging out with Suho as he's making him sink to his level. Kuja gets up and asks if that's the reason he considers Suho as a friend. Suddenly, Suho comes out of nowhere and lands a jab at Hajun's face. The bullies are now even more stunned than before, believing that everyone is losing their minds today. Hajun gets slightly behind and asks Suho if that's him. Suho tells Kuja that if he wasn't there for him, then he wouldn't have lasted a day at the school. At the same time, a boy barges inside the class and says that a fight is going on. The boys curiously ask who's fighting and where they are. The boy says that it's Suho and Hajun, and they are at the back of the school. The students gossip if this is real. Also, Suho doesn't stand a chance against Hajun. They believe that someone must try to stop them before Suho dies. Hajun asks Suho if he really wants to fight him. He thought they were friends. Suho questioningly asks if he considers them to be friends. He clears himself and says that the only friend he has at the school is Kuja. The gold card that Hajun got earlier is revealed to be an attack card. It allows him to attack with maximum capacity for 5 seconds. Suho says that he'll knock him out in 5 seconds. The students ask each other if they heard him right. Suho is talking about knocking Hajun out in 5 seconds. Is he out of his mind or something? The other bully thinks that this guy is stupid. They should prepare for his funeral. They believe that even though Suho knows a bit about boxing, he isn't a match against Hajun. Suho thinks that he can do this. He improved his jab earlier to E rank. Suho throws a jab and thinks they are much more powerful than before. Both Kuja and Chai look at Suho in astonishment. Hajun evades the punch and says that it already has been 5 seconds. Suho starts throwing multiple punches, and the students wonder if they are watching a boxing match. They look at Suho and wonder when he learned boxing so well. They think that Hajun can't do anything and still can't believe their eyes. Suho jumps forward and almost lands a punch, and the excitement among the crowd grows more. The other bullies wonder what will happen if Hajun loses. However, another boy tells him to say something nice at least. Fatty says that this feels kind of strange. He feels that it's the same thing when he fought Suho back then. Hajun evades Suho's attack and lands a punch at him. The fatty says that Suho only knows how to throw jabs. As Suho struggles on the ground, Hajun mocks him for knowing only one move. Suho gets back again while trembling and thinks that he needs only 5 seconds. Hajun smacks him and says that this is ridiculous. As Suho lies on the ground, Hajun asks if he planned to defeat him with just jabs. Suho thought about this earlier in his room, whether he could defeat Hajun with just jabs or not. Even though they have gotten stronger, they aren't good enough to make a finishing move on Hajun. He believes that the only thing he can rely on is the gold card that he got from the side quest. He believes it would have been better if it was a tackle card or some sort of jujitsu move. He'll have to lull Hajun into a false sense of security to use this. The maximum capacity cards last for 5 seconds and wonder if those 5 seconds would be enough. At present, Suho rushes towards Hajun and thinks that this is all he has got. Hajun lands a punch at him and asks what he's doing. Fatty makes fun of him for trying to tackle Hajun. They should also consider the difference in the weight class. There's no way a tackle would work on him. Suho thinks that this is not the right time to use the maximum capacity card. He rushes forward once again and uses his high-pitched note card to speak aloud. Hajun throws him to the ground and asks what he's doing. However, Suho charges once again and thinks that he can't stop now. Hajun once again lands a punch at him, asking what he's doing. Suho thinks that he needs to wait for the perfect time when Hajun starts getting sloppy. Suho grabs Hajun and says 5 seconds once again. He thinks this is his chance and uses a healing bean to restore his stamina. The system notifies him that his stamina has been restored, and Hajun curses at Suho. The boys say that Hajun has started swearing and they need to stop him. If not, he might kill Suho. Hajun gets annoyed with Suho and says he'll kill him now. When Hajun tries to move Suho away, he feels that he isn't budging. Suho uses the maximum capacity card, and his eyes glare with focus. He thought about this card earlier and how he could use it with his jab card. He thinks that this card allows him to have 344 pounds of weight. The countdown for the card begins, and the students look in awe. He lifts Hajun and thinks that he now has the strength to lift someone who weighs less than 344 pounds. Suho then slams Hajun onto the ground with a force of 344 pounds. Hajun almost chokes up after getting hit hard. Suho then takes off his jacket as the timer hits 3 seconds. He then punches Hajun, thinking that his punch packs a might of 344 pounds behind it. Hajun face bleeds as Suho lands a clean hit on his face, and Hajun thinks that this is impossible. Suho then unleashes a fury of punches on Hajun's face. Soon the system notifies him that his maximum capacity card has reached its limits. As Hajun is about to go unconscious, he tells Suho that he has won. After that, Suho slumps along with Hajun on the ground. The system notifies Suho that he has completed the main quest. The bullies remain shocked after seeing Hajun being defeated. Che is also surprised that Suho pulled it off, and Kuja feels happy that Suho did it. The system says that he'll now receive a platinum card and asks if he would like to receive it. Suho shouts, telling the system to give him that damn card. The next day at school, the students gossip about what happened yesterday. A boy notices Hajun's empty seat and asks why didn't he come to school today. The other boy replies that it's obvious that he didn't come. He got his ass kicked in front of the whole school yesterday. The boy hopes that he doesn't show up again and they can live freely now. They never believed that Hajun would ever lose in a fight. Also, he just didn't lose to anyone but to that loser Suho Kim. A boy comes inside the room and tells them to be quiet as the top dog of school is passing through. Suho walks awkwardly in the hallway as the students make way for him. They wonder if he's the Suho Kim who defeated Hajun in the fight yesterday. Suho feels the growing pressure and wonders how things turn out like this. Later, Suho goes into the washroom and looks at the platinum card. He thinks that he finally got it after going through all that crap. He believes it to be at least 1 level higher. He says the word claim card and the washroom turns into a disco light. The platinum card reveals itself and it's named Peek at You. This allows him to take a peek at another person. Suho thinks that it's not an attack card and wonders what this does. He was hoping for a card better than the jab card and wonders what kind of peek it's referring to. Kuja asks what he's mumbling about, and Suho says that it's time to head out now. Kuja asks if he's ready and Suho replies that he is. As they walk through the hallway, Kuja feels nervous. He tells Suho that he's too close, and Suho apologizes. The people around him gossip about Suho, and they can't believe it. Suho hears people saying that he kicked Hajun's ass, and Suho wonders how far the rumors have gone. A girl says that he looks like a nice guy, but the other girl replies that he's faking it. He lulls his opponents into a false sense of security, and then attacks them out of nowhere. Suho hears them saying that Hajun is in hospital, and that's why he didn't come today. However, Suho thinks that Hajun is completely fine, and he's just skipping school today. He hears rumors about him beating Hajun's dad. They consider him to be a total lunatic. They also talk about Kuja being scary looking. They think that he looks 48 years old and is a son of a Yakuza family. They say he's Suho's right-hand man. Suho thinks that these rumors are getting out of hand, and he needs to clear up the misunderstanding. Suddenly, he bumps into a student while walking forward. The boy greets them and asks if he's Suho who won against Hajun. Suho replies that he's that person and asks if he did anything wrong. The boy bows in front of Suho, introducing himself as the top dog of the first year, Hyun Lee. Suho asks what are they doing and why are they greeting him in the first place. The boy replies that it's obvious as he's the new top dog of the school. It's only right for them to greet them properly as juniors. Suho says that everyone is looking and why are they greeting him like that. Lee asks if he wants them to see them on their knees. Suho begs them not to do that. He's not a top dog or anything. He just wants to attend school in peace. The boys ask if he'll abandon them. Suho, surprised, asks whom are they talking about abandoning. The boys leave gloomily as Suho shouts at them to get out of here. He doesn't want to get mixed up with people like them. Suho wonders what's wrong with these guys, and he asks Kuja who Lee is. Kuja says that Lee used to follow Hajun around, but Hajun thought that he was annoying. But now, Hajun has lost to him, and Lee came looking for him as the new top dog of the school. Suho calls it unbelievable and asks the reason why he's approaching him. Kuja replies that he wants to unite the whole gangbuk. Kuja explains that 4 powerful high schools are looking to expand their influence. Hajun wasn't interested in the unification, but Lee felt differently. Lee wants to unite gangbuk with his help. Suho thinks that it's better to stay away from those guys, and thinks that all of this unification is crap. He wishes to attend school in peace after Hajun is gone. Suddenly, the system pops up and says that it will create a new quest. The quest is to rule over West Gangbuk High, and the first step is to win over the first years of Gangbuk High. Suho says abandon quest, but the system says that the rewards will be forfeited, and the system window will never appear again. Suho thinks that if he gives up now, then he will be okay for a while. However, people will eventually figure out that he's weak. Once that happens, everything will go back to what it used to be. Suho goes back to the first years and calls them. He says that he was testing them. On hearing Suho's response, Lee blushes red. With ultimate seriousness, Suho says that he'll take West Gangbuk High from now on. The boys become happy, saying that they can finally unite Gangbuk. Suho cries while maintaining his seriousness, and says that he's pleased to see his underlings being happy. Later, Suho goes back to his class and feels chills down his spine. He hopes that things don't get worse from here and there won't be any more fights from now on. He thinks that quests are created whenever something happens. He looks at his platinum card and thinks that he hasn't tried it yet. It's not like he had a chance to use it, but had to deal with those first years all day. He needs to try it out, but can't understand how he should use it. Che suddenly approaches Suho and asks what he's thinking. She heard the rumors that he'd be taking over the West Gangbuk High. Suho says it's not like that. However, Che asks if he'll unite all of Gangbuk. Suddenly, Suho focuses his gaze on Che, and she asks what's wrong with him. She asks why he's staring at her like that. However, our boy doesn't reply back to her. He says peek at you, and Che asks, what is he saying? The system notifies him that he has used the peek at you card, and it's now peeking at Che Beck. The system reveals Che's stats with intelligence at B level, while other stats are average. Suho wonders if this is what peeking is. He can see his opponent's stats and thinks that Che's stats are a bit disappointing. This wasn't what he thought of this card, but it's still good. Che blushingly asks what he's looking at. He is pissing her off. Suho then wonders if he could use this ability on himself and says, Pikachu. Suho sees his stats and he has decent intelligence and potential. However, his other stats are below average. Che slaps Suho and tells him to cut his little games. Che leaves annoyingly and Suho wonders what potential stats do. He wonders if this is related to someone's hidden potential in a fight. Since this card is called Pikachu, he shouldn't have expected much. However, he believes that this card might turn out more useful than he thought. Later, Suho is walking in the hallway with Kuja. Suho's lackeys clear the way for him, asking who would like to face them. Some boys gossip that they will beat anyone who gets too close to them. They also heard that they attacked the principal as well. Lee says that everyone is happy to have him as the top dog of this school. Suho replies that no one is happy, and they are thinking him of as shit. He whispers to Lee, asking if he has something to say. Lee understands what he's getting at and pulls out an envelope. He gives Suho the money they collected from other students this month, and Suho freaks out. Suho asks why they are giving him this envelope and why it's so bloody. Lee says that it's the blood of the first years who were refusing. Kuja takes the money and slides it into his vest. Suho asks what he's doing and he should return it. Lee asks if they think that it's not enough. Just as he thought, he's a man of a different caliber. He'll now increase the fee they collect from students. Suho wonders what's wrong with these idiots. He orders them to get out of his face now. Suho uses peek at U-card on Lee and sees his stats. The stats are decent overall and only potential is lacking. Lee blushes and says that he's suddenly feeling embarrassed for a weird reason. Suho turns away and thinks that he shouldn't get involved with someone like him. Lee asks where he's going, and Suho thinks that Lee is nothing but trouble. Lee tells Suho that he needs to attend his inauguration ceremony on becoming the new leader. The system pops up and says that a new main quest is now available. The new quest is to attend the inauguration ceremony. Suho, with tears filled in his eyes, says that he'll definitely attend the ceremony. Lee feels chuffed and tells Suho that he's such a cool leader. For the inauguration ceremony, the boys line up in 2 rows. They bow in front of Suho and Kuja and say they'll now unite Gangbuk. Suho gets up and wonders if that's all for the inauguration ceremony. Lee says that they will brief him next, and Suho wonders when these bastards prepared all of this. Lee says that he must already know that Gangbuk is currently in a war zone. However, Suho asks how is he supposed to know that. Lee explains that the reason Gangbuk is in an all-out war is because of Johan, who previously united Gangbuk and then gave up. Without a leader in place, a war broke out. The students of East Gangbuk High are a bunch of reckless bastards. Their leader is a complete lunatic who makes money by making people peddle. Next is South Gangbuk High. They are the exact opposite of East High, and their leader is nice. However, there must be something fishy as they run some sort of business. Lee clutches the stick and says that they can't let them take over West High. Suho scratches his face and asks what's wrong with them taking over here. If other students come here to attack them, they can call the police. Kuja, while chilling through the discussion, asks for water. The students call him with respect and order someone to bring the water. Lee explains that they don't get along with them well and they are already suspicious of him. Rumors have already spread that tank-top Suho Kim strikes down his enemies mercilessly. Suho gets out of his seat and asks who the hell is spreading those ridiculous rumors. Lee blushes and says that he's the one who did it. Suho curses at Lee, asking if he's out of his mind. Suho gets annoyed and says he won't get into fights anymore. This greatly surprises the other members. He tells them to stop following him around. Plus, they need to stop circulating those BS rumors. Kuja also chimes in and says he'll see them later, but Suho shuts him up. Lee asks what they should do about the upcoming Gangbuk conference meeting. Suho asks what even is that and he doesn't want to be part of it. He says he wants to attend school in peace. As school gets over, Suho goes back to his home. He watches a TV show and feels relaxed. He thinks that he made the right decisions in front of those morons today. There's no need for him to protect West Gangbuk High and get into useless fights. Suho's sister enters the house and asks what he has been up to the school. Everyone is calling her the little sister of tank-top Suho. Plus, the seniors at school are bowing whenever they see her. Suho waves at her not to worry. He sorted all of that stuff today. He says that he won't get himself into trouble by going to a useless conference crap. She says that he's starting to piss her off. She says whatever, and thinks that it's better than seeing him getting bullied. She also clears herself that she would tell Mom if he goes to that conference. Suho tells her not to worry about it. He grins and thinks that he can now live the life of a normal student. The scene shifts to a dark place. A boy comes in and asks if he heard about the West Gangbuk High. His boss asks if it's something worth listening to. The boy replies that it's, and the leader tells him to spit it out then. He says that Hajun was defeated, and now a new leader has taken over the West Gangbuk. The boss suddenly kicks his lackey. The boy says that it must be hard for him to believe, but that's the truth. That leader is called Tank-top Suho. The leader, Jeha, who's the top dog of East Gangbuk, says that he doesn't want to hear crap like these things. The scene shifts to the South Gangbuk. A boy asks Seok if he heard that someone defeated Hajun of West Gangbuk. He bowls his balls and says he heard it. Also, their new leader goes by the name of Tank-top Suho. The boy says that he's incredibly violent and cruel. He asks what he's planning to do about him. The leader grins and says they'll soon meet him at the conference meeting. Later, Lee smokes in private. He thinks that the conference meeting is approaching fast and wonders what he should do. He believes this is another obstacle that he must overcome by showing his resolve to Suho. Lee's phone buzzes and he reaches into his pocket to pick it up. The caller is Suho, and Lee asks how is he calling him first. Lee blushes and says that he didn't want to contact him. Suho says that he did talk about that and he shouldn't worry about it. The system assigns Suho the final quest, which is to attend the gangbook conference meeting. Suho, while crying, asks when the conference meeting is. The system also specifies the reward to be 1 gold card and 10 bronze cards. Lee asks if everything is all right. At school, he was quite angry and talked about not attending the conference meeting. Suho replies, how can't he join when there are 11 cards for reward? Lee, on hearing Suho's response, asks if he's talking about cards. He becomes amazed upon learning that their boss gambles too. Lee says that he understood it all and he'll make all the necessary preparations. Suho asks what is he preparing. He scolds him not to do it. He's planning to attend the meeting, that's all. Lee smirks as Suho asks if he's up to something evil. The next day in the classroom, Suho is using his peek at you card on his classmates. A girl feels shivers down her spine as he uses it on her. He then uses it on the boy sitting in front of him, and he wonders what's happening to him. Suho grins and thinks that using peek at you card is quite fun. It's fun to see people's stats and wonders why they react like that. He thinks that people might feel embarrassed when he peeks at them. Also, what's even strange is that this ability can be leveled up too. He gets 1 experience point for every 2 people he peeks at. He hopes that he will be able to see more details as his skill goes to E rank. He looks at Che and wonders if he should use this peek at you card again on her. He decides not to use it on her. However, he uses it on Kuja, and Kuja feels some strange feelings coursing through his body. Suho wonders what this bastard is enjoying. He calls out to Kuja and says he wants to ask something. He checks Kuja's stat and sees that he has S-tier potential. He asks why his potential is so high. Kuja asks Suho what he's talking about, and Suho tells him to just ignore it. After the school gets over, they head out. They think that today they'll have the conference meeting. Suho thinks that if it weren't for those 11 cards, he wouldn't have gone there. He thinks that he only needs to attend the conference and this will complete the quest. Suho thanks Kuja for coming along with him, and Kuja asks if he has a plan. Suho replies that he'll show up there and make a run as soon as it gets over. He thinks that all the leaders of the North, South, and East will show up at the meeting. He thinks that it would be better to not piss off other leaders. Kuja adjusts his glasses and says that he feels not everything will go smoothly there. He tells Suho to look in front, and they see Lee and his boys bowing. Suho says that he doesn't have the energy to get angry anymore, and asks what they are up to this time. Lee says that they have readied his boys in case something goes down at the meeting. He says that they are the best fighters in the first years and they volunteered to join them today. Also, his guys are loyal and will happily lay down their lives for him. Kuja says they should prepare themselves as tonight they will dine in hell. Suho asks, what is he doing? He shouldn't encourage them. Some girls pass by Suho and wonder if they are heading to a street fight or something. Suho tells Lee to send everyone back home. Only 3 of them will be attending the meeting. Lee asks Suho if he feels confident that he could take them all by himself. He's quite impressed by their new leader. However, Suho says that's not what he meant. Lee dismisses his boys and tells them to go home and see their grandfather. The trio then goes to the gangbook conference, and Suho wonders why things turned out like this. The scene shifts to a beaten boy, and his leader asks if he can say that again. He asks why isn't he repeating what he said earlier. The boy apologizes, and the leader, Jaeha, says that the high school kids can be dangerous. He smacks the boy again and asks which gang is he from. Jaeha rubs his cigarette on the ground and asks which gang member he was mentioning earlier. He raises his hand and tells the boy to pay for the booze he drank before. Suddenly, a man comes in and stops Jaeha. However, Jaeha kicks him in anger. Suddenly, a boy comes in and says that the gangbook conference meeting is going to start soon. Jaeha asks why he needs to attend trivial stuff like that. Suho soon reaches the meeting place and sees that the location is a construction site. He gulps down and asks if this is the right place. Lee says that it's a building that stopped construction, and now it has become a sketchy area. He also adds that the conference meeting always takes place here. Lee says that he could kill someone here without anyone finding out about it. He asks Suho if he's planning to kill everyone at the conference. However, Suho says that he never talked about that. Suho enters the building and wonders if people will ambush him as soon as he enters it. As Suho enters the place, the leader of South Gangbook greets him. He asks if he's Suho from West High, and Suho agrees. The leader introduces himself as Seok from South High. He also adds that they look to be of the same age. Seok points to the sofa and says, "That's where representatives from West High will sit." The trio nervously sit down, and Suho thinks that Seok seems to be a nice guy. He feels relieved on seeing some less lunatic people. Lee tells Suho not to be fooled by his smile. He may seem nice, but he's the leader of South High. It's hard to know what he's thinking, and there must be a reason why he became the top dog of that school. He's advising him not to let his guard down around him, and he could be the most dangerous one. A boy asks Seok what his impression of Suho is. Seok replies that they made fun of his name. He never thought they would do such a dare thing. Well, that's Lee stirring trouble wherever he goes. Suho wonders what Seok is talking over there. Lee tells Suho not to look away from Seok first as it will show weakness. However, Suho tells him to shut up. He sees that the quest isn't complete yet. He can't wait to find out what type of abilities he'll receive from those cards. Suho looks around for other leaders, and Lee asks if he's warming up for a fight. Suho replies, "That's not the case." Jaeha from East Gangbuk enters the building, and he's clearly annoyed. He sees Seok and calls him BS. Seok says that he's being quite rude. He thought they were friends. Suho thinks that this guy who just entered looks like a complete thug. Lee adds that he also seems to be the type of guy who would steal someone's girlfriend. The system pops up and says that the quest is completed. The gloomy-looking place turns into disco light, as the system tells him that it's reward time. Suho gets up and tells his boys to head home. He thinks that he'll claim cards once he reaches back. He starts daydreaming about which abilities those cards hold. Suddenly, Jaeha grabs Suho's neck and asks where he's going. He only came here because of him. Suho's friend gets scared when Jaeha tries to choke Suho. Jaeha says that he heard about how he beat Hajun. He also wants to see if he could beat him as well.